We have some good news today. I've been talking about the war between Ukraine and Russia. Not one of my favorite subjects, I will admit. I make these videos, look into these things and read into these things, and well, so that you don't have to. So we can report and address and see things in the light of Bible prophecy. But we have some good news today, right? Some good news today. Here is what it says. Sky News. Zelenskyy suggests hot phase of Ukraine war could end in return for NATO membership if offered, even if seized land isn't returned immediately. Wow, this is huge because just earlier this year, he was still saying we will not surrender. Russia needs to leave, give us back the lands that's been taken. Kyiv is fully under the control of Russia, and there are a few other lands as well. But for him to make this move, that means there must be some serious desperation. A lot of lives lost when it comes to this situation. So let me talk a little bit about this. We're going to listen to the news regarding this. And we'll talk about it when we finish. Let's take a listen.
We begin this hour with breaking news. Volodymyr Zelenskyy has suggested that he's prepared to give up some parts of Ukraine to Russia for the time being, so long as there is a ceasefire and his country is given NATO membership. The Ukrainian president was speaking to our chief correspondent, Stuart Ramsey, in his first interview with the UK media since Donald Trump's election win. Mr. Trump has vowed to end the war in Ukraine and boasted that he could do so within 24 hours of coming to power. Well, in a moment, we'll speak live to Stuart Ramsey in Kyiv, as well as getting international reaction. But first, let's hear what President Zelenskyy had to say.
Well, one alternative, perhaps, again, this is reported from the United States. And it's fairly simple, really, is that Ukraine joins NATO, but Russia takes control and keeps the land that it has to date. Would that be a possibility?
Ніхто не пропонував нам бути в НАТО.
No one has offered us to be in NATO with just one part or another part of Ukraine.
Закінчити гарячу стадію.
That's for once.
Факт.
The fact is that it is a solution to stop the hot stage of the war, because we can just give the NATO membership to the part of Ukraine that is under our control.
Факт. Можна було б, ніхто не пропонував.
Yes, it could be possible, but no one offered.
Треба робити.
But the invitation must be given to Ukraine within its internationally recognized border.
Ви не можете давати тільки частині.
You can't give invitation to just one part of a country. Why? Because thus you would recognize that Ukraine is only that territory of Ukraine and the other one is Russia.
Тому я і сказав, юридично ми не маємо права.
So legally, by law, we have no right to recognize the occupied territory as territory of Russia.
І тут не можна помилятись.
And here we must not make any mistake.
Зупинити гарячу стадію війни.
But if we want to stop the hot stage of the war,
зонтик, амбрелу,
we should take under NATO umbrella the territory of Ukraine that we have under our control.
швидко. А далі
That's what we need to do fast. And then Ukraine can get back the other part of its territory diplomatically.
Ось що я сказав, що таку пропозицію
So, and this proposal has never been considered by Ukraine because no one has ever offered that to us officially.
не запропонував. Юридично
We can't, by law, recognize our territory, Ukrainian territory, under occupation of Russia as Russian. That is impossible. That is against the constitution of Ukraine.
Конституцію України.
I understand completely your position. It is interesting, though, because it seems to me you have moved to a point that if you could get your NATO membership, you would have accept that we could be moving into a ceasefire and potential talks, peace talks, and at some point in the future, you would consider diplomatically how to get your land back. That's quite a big step, because you're never going to accept that it's Russia's, but as you say, physically they will hold it. But it could bring the war to a close.
A lot of different countries proposed a ceasefire. So the question is, ceasefire where? That is the question. The second point is, if we speak ceasefire, guarantees that Putin will not come back. And in this case, I commented you about NATO. Yes, NATO immediately the part of Ukraine. And we need it very much. Otherwise, he will come back. Otherwise, how we can go to ceasefire? So it's very, for us, it's very dangerous. That's what I meant.
Wow, that is a huge indeed development. So he is willing to surrender some of the lands of Ukraine for a NATO membership. Wow. And that was one of the reasons why the invasion took place in the first place. Now, we do know there is the NATO expansion, which the Russian president, I should say, had pushed back against for so many years. He's been warning NATO, stop expanding upon the border of Russia, or else I will have to invade Ukraine, which he referred to as a special operation. But this is a huge statement that he is willing to do that if the offer is made. At this point, I know there's some people who watch this channel who are either in Ukraine, some of you are in Russia. Where do you stand when it comes to this? What is the price of peace? Do you think this is good? Do you think the Ukrainians must keep fighting? Now, let's think about this. This is Al Jazeera. And I'm looking at the stats here regarding this war. So let's take a look at what these stats are showing. So we're talking about the amount of deaths when it comes to both Russians and Ukrainians it's about 1 million people have already been killed. So this war has been going on for about 2 years now, if I'm not mistaken. It started February 2022. So when Russia invaded Ukraine. So we are about to enter the month of December 2024. So it's almost 2 years, a few more months. So it's about 1 year and 9 months. And this many deaths have already taken place. The age of these individuals, 18 to 20 to 24. So they're very young men that are dying. So we also have, this is heartbreaking. So in June, Ukraine officials says Russian invaders had killed more than 12,000 civilians, including 501 children. Sad, if these records are exactly true. We're talking about 95% of the civilian casualties occur in populated areas, with the Donetsk region the most affected. This is terrible. I would like to see this thing end, though. I would like to see it end. But the average is somewhere, they're talking about over 700,000 Ukrainians, about 300,000 Russians. That's what the records are showing. So there are children, casualties in this, civilians as well. You know, at this point, I would like to see this thing come to an end. You know, we got to be praying. We got to be praying that the Lord will intervene when it comes to this matter. But, it's terrible. So it's definitely more than the numbers that I'm thinking, because they're saying here it's over 654,000 Russian personnel have died. And in all the reports, they're saying more Ukrainians have perished than there are Russians. So I'm not sure whether or not these numbers are accurate, but that means we're looking at 1.5 million easily. And we're not even talking about the casualties, those that are injured. Yeah, this is the result of this war, and I really hope and pray this will come to an end, that the God of peace will intervene. And my hope when I make these videos is that the people of faith will begin to pray. The people who have faith in Jesus will cry out upon the Lord, and that's what we need to be doing for God to intervene. And God is a good God. He works in mysterious ways. But at this point, man, I'm like, how many more bloodshed do we need to see? You know, American politicians are continue to push for this war. They would like to see more bloodshed. It does feel that way, at least. But at this point, I'm like, man, over 1.5 million people in a matter of a year and 9 months, this many lives have been lost. Goodness. You know, heartbreaking. I did talking to somebody now who's from Ukraine, wants to come on a channel to speak about what it's like out there. We plan on doing that. But much more could be said. Keep this matter in your prayer. Pray for the Ukrainian people and the Russians. Pray. That's one of the most powerful things we can do at this time. And advocate for peace for both sides. Have a good one. Bye.